We are going to present an article called Polios Last Act. My name is Maria, sorry, and Carol. We are the one who are going to present this article. First of all, what is polio? Polio is a disease caused by a virus, and that virus is spread via contact with fecal matter. Polio, it attacks the central nervous system, and it is most prevalent among children and young adults. The polio vaccine was discovered by two scientists. The first one was, its name is Jonas Salk, and the other one is Albert Sabin. The Salk vaccine was made upon the poliovirus that has been killed, and it was injectable. But Sabin vaccine, it was oral, and it was made up by weakened virus. Also, the Sabin vaccine, it has the ability to spread from vaccinated people to unvaccinated people. So unvaccinated people can get an advantage of getting the Sabin vaccine through those viruses that are spread from vaccinated people to unvaccinated people. So in those articles, they talk a little bit of the history of those vaccines, and they said that SARS vaccine was the first one to be approved by the US government, and that make SARS vaccine to be widely used in USA. So that causes Sabin vaccine to not get sufficient people to test with his vaccine, and that caused those two scientists to not dislike each other. So while Russia was on a quest for a polio vaccine, Sabin went there and he met another Russian called Chumakov. And Chumakov helped Sabin to perform tests of his vaccine, and from there, Sabin vaccine started to be known. And by testing Sabin vaccine, it was proved to be efficient, and it was also less costly, and also it was easy to be administered because you can administer it oral. Yeah. And from there, Sabin vaccine, by getting the chance to test his vaccine, the World Health Organization know his vaccine, and also because it was less costly, he gave his vaccine, and they give them to the poor country so that they can also prevent against polio. So after testing those two vaccines, they proved that both vaccine was safe, and they have a significant reduction of paralytic cases.
So later on, they discovered that there was a problem because some of the vaccines, the type 2 vaccine that Sabin had created, had actually caused the disease rather than to prevent it from the natural virus. And there's two types of polio vaccines that she had mentioned, the oral vaccine and the injectable vaccine. And both vaccines at first contained the three types of polio viruses, type 1, 2, and 3. But later on, they discovered that type 2 poliovirus was no longer in nature, so people had eventually got infected of it, but because of the oral vaccine, the oral administered vaccine, and not because of nature itself. And people started thinking that, well, maybe we should remove the type 2 vaccine, the type 2 strand from the polio vaccine, because since it went from unvaccinated to vaccinated people, they thought that maybe that's how the type 2 polio was being spread. So then they suggested to remove the type 2 polio vaccine from the oral vaccine and to make it bivalent. Bivalent. And so other researchers wanted to keep it, so it was a prolonging dispute whether we should keep the type 2 or to remove it. This is a good summary of all the 3 different vaccines put together. The first one is the trivalent live vaccine, and this is the oral vaccine that contains all the 3 types of vaccines. And the pro is that it's delivered by mouth, it's less cost effective, and it can benefit for children. They won't be scared to take an oral vaccine. And in rare cases, the weekend vaccine can potentially cause the natural type 2 polio within patients. And the bivalent live vaccine contains only type 1 and type 2 polio viruses, and all the benefits is that it doesn't cause the type 2 polio, but it's unsafe if the type 2 is undetected. And the killed virus vaccine only, it contains all 3 types of the vaccines, and it doesn't cause polio in general, but it's expensive, it is injectable, so it has to be administered by healthcare. So in the end, that they found that the injectable vaccine that contains only type 1 and type 3 is safer, despite the fact that it's more inexpensive. I'm sorry, type 1, 2, and 3. Despite the fact that it's inexpensive, it's expensive. And the World Health Assembly, also known as WHO, is still thinking on ways that they can decrease the spread of polio 2 vaccine. And so it can also still be affordable. Any questions?
So what do you mean by type 2 vaccine is no longer in the nature?
Nature isn't creating polio type 2, but it still exists because it's in our vaccines. So it's man-made, I guess you could say now, instead of nature itself creating the virus.
Yeah, I was understanding, like, it is not like still there. When we go to the natural, you can find type 2 virus. It was only found in only the vaccines.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Only the type 1 and type 3 was the one who were present in the natural.
So would you say type 2 polio is extinct or just a dormant state to where it's not showing itself in nature?
Yeah, for people who are not like, there are some, usually when you like, they don't see type 2, but that is why they think it is not there. But for some researchers, they think that maybe it is not showing up. That is why they still say that we must still have that type 2 virus in the vaccine, because we don't know, maybe it is not showing up. But when maybe they use those material microscope and what, they don't see that type 2 virus.
Are there different symptoms between the 3 different polio viruses?
What people didn't say about that, but I think so. Because if they see that people and they think that this is caused by type 2 virus, I think maybe there's some symptom that shows that make them to make a conclusion that this person get infected by type 2. But here they didn't say those different symptoms. I don't know. Maybe I can do more research.
I agree. The article didn't have anything to say against the different. Yes, I'm sorry. The different symptoms, but I mean, I'm sure there has to be different symptoms in order for them to find out that there are 3 different types.
Any other questions? Thank you.